Hi, Laura. Thanks for coming and being part of my project.
My pleasure.
And you're the director of the Triumphant Love Learning Center.
Child Development, yes, ma'am.
Child Development Center, and at Triumphant Love Lutheran Church. So tell us why you think congregationally affiliated preschools are so important.
There's two sides to that answer. One is the evangelical point. This is, in many cases, the only opportunity that these children get to hear the word and have that exposure to the Christian environment. So there's that, which is huge. But there's also the small church-based centers are higher quality centers. So kids are getting a better education here. They're getting developmentally appropriate practices. They're getting exposure to really good quality care, and that's invaluable.
Yes, and the research shows that too. It says recording. Okay. All right. So many boards, many church people concerned that the preschool will be a big drain on their budget. What would you say to that concern?
It'd be silly to assume that there isn't a financial cost to the church. There is. I've worked at many programs over the years, and some were 100% funded by the church, and some are like ours, where we give back to the church. It is a cost to the church. There's no doubt about it. But the vibrancy that's seen when the children are on the grounds and there's activity during the week and people are in and out, the vibrancy that the illusion is that it's not an illusion. The thought that this is a vibrant church draws people to it. And so then you end up with higher membership and offerings through that as well. Mm-hmm. It does cost, but in our case, the church receives money from the school as well, and so that helps offset janitorial and the utilities and things like that. So we help as much as we can.
Okay. And so do you have a rent situation, a tithe situation? How do you work that out? How do you give money from the school to the church?
So it's changed over the years. From the very beginning when the church was started, we tithed at the end of the year whatever we had, which would usually worked out to be about $1,000 a month for a 10-month cycle. Now we pay 10% of our income to the church, so it helps offset their costs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I'm assuming that you have some shared space situations, so your classrooms are also used for Sunday school rooms. Tell us about that. How do you work that out?
So Wednesday nights and Sundays, the church uses the space. We, as a ministry of the church, technically everything we have belongs to the church, and we negotiate ahead of time how the room is going to be used, what the Sunday school teacher wants left out, and then what we can stash away so that it gets protected. And they don't have the same sanitization requirements that we have, and so a lot of times we don't want to leave out a whole bunch of things that we're going to have to come back in Thursday mornings and Monday mornings and re-clean before we can utilize them. So it's just a lot of negotiation and working with the church ahead of time to know what's being used, how it's being used, what do they need, and making sure that we just all work really well together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So there are some equipment that's used by both besides the table and chairs, and you have a professional janitor.
We do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because being very clean in a center is so important, right?
We're dealing with, you have accreditation requirements, you have licensing requirements, you have church and our requirements, and so, everybody in the health department, so everybody has rules that we have to abide by
Mm-hmm.
as far as cleanliness and sanitization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and tell us about the curriculum that you choose. Do your teachers make it, or have you purchased one? What have you decided about that?
So we have a little bit of a mix. We use something called a scope and sequence, and it says on any given month what the children should be able to do, and we scaffold skill sets off of that. So the teachers use the scope and sequence, which says, this month they ought to be able to start cutting with scissors. And so we use that to help us develop our lesson plans, but the teachers do the themes themselves.
Great. And what about chapel? How do you handle chapel?
It's been done many ways, and right now we're in an interim pastor situation here at our church. Our pastor's done the chapel before. We've had a teacher do chapel before. It just kind of depends right now. Our staff is conducting chapel. We use the same curriculum that the church uses for Sunday school, so that those children who are coming to Sunday school have that familiarity as well. And so we use the Gospel Light, I believe, program for that. And so we have that overlap with the church, and it further connects us. And the church also provides the children Bibles every year, which is really nice. So the start of the year, they all get presented their Bibles in the oldest classes. And then they have those, and they follow along with the lessons that we do for chapel. And so that's kind of fun. They take that home and have that connection.
Okay. Well, nice. What about scholarships? Do you offer scholarships? Or?
We do. We've worked very hard over the last 10 years to build up a scholarship fund. And we offer its need-based scholarships. So if somebody comes in from the community, and we have it hanging in our hall as well, if anybody's interested, to let us know. We have a review process, and then we award scholarships. We've, in the past, we had a mom who suffered from cancer, and we scholarshiped her daughter while she was going through that. We had a family who had some other health concerns, and we scholarshiped their son for the whole year. And we even went over in ratios because we felt that that was the right thing to do, is to help minister to this family in their time of need. And so we will do that, and we do that, and it's very important to us that we have that option for families coming in.
And of course that will impact your budget too, depending on how many scholarships that you have. But I guess you have a board who oversees that and decides?
The board oversees big picture budget. The director of operations and I establish our budget, and then it gets taken to the board for approval. But if we have the money in the scholarship fund, we just float it from one fund into the tuition, and it all is pretty seamless.
Okay, wonderful. And what about fundraisers? Do you do those?
We do one huge fundraiser every year. It's our gala. It's an evening out. Usually it's upstairs in our fellowship hall, and we transform into this beautiful evening. And we have a guest that comes in, and usually it's a comedian or an entertainer of some sort, and he's our auctioneer for the evening. And we do live and silent auctions. In the past, we did some other fundraisers, and they used to raise like about $5,000 a year. This has got this generates between $14,000 and $30,000 every year. And so we use it for big improvements. 10% of everything we fundraise goes into the scholarship fund, so it's another way of seeding that as well. But we use it for big improvements, usually playground and outside things, those things that aren't budgeted in our regular annual budget. Right now we're working with the Wildflower Center to establish a nature preserve play area for the kids. And so that's what our fundraising last year and this year will go to.
Wonderful. So that'll be here on the church campus?
Here on the grounds.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. And so people who are considering starting a child development center might worry about liability. What would you say about that?
We fall under the church's liability insurance. So a lot of what we do, the foremost thought, I think, is safety because of those liability issues. And licensing governs a lot of that and protects the center. It establishes a lot of rules and regulations in regards to heights of things and depth of fall zones. And so those things mitigate some of the concern. But, we just really put the safety of the children first, and very mindful of what we can do to make sure that we're operating as safely as we can so that there aren't liability issues.
Okay. And do you have any advice for people who are considering having a preschool or a child development center?
Yeah, there's nothing more joyous than hearing the kids in the morning and being around them. It's really a happy environment. The kids parade sometimes through the church offices, and the demeanor of everybody in the office goes from trudging doing their work to light and happy. There's such joy that they bring to the congregation and to the church that it's invaluable. The quality of the daycare is unsurpassed. If you compare what we do to a for-profit, there's no comparison, and the quality is just there for the kids, and really and truly, what's more important than those kids?
Amen to that. So do you have a story? People may not understand You know, I know when you say this is much higher quality, I know that's true. But can you help them see how that is?
We, years ago, took one of our staff development days and we went to a for-profit center, and we all broke out, depending on what age we taught, into that class to do observations. And back then I was an infant teacher here at the center, and sitting in that classroom watching those kids, the state ratio is much higher than what we operate at. They're almost double what we do. And those two caregivers just really could only provide the most basic of care. They diapered the child, they fed the child, they put the child down. Went to the next one, they diapered that child, they fed that child, they put it down. There's no engagement. Here with our teachers, we have very, very low ratios, 5 to 2 for our infant program. The teachers are on the ground, they're playing with the kids, they're giving them lessons, they're giving them language, helping them to develop their expressive abilities. So they're talking to them about, are you sad, are you happy, and they're giving them words for feelings and things. They're reading to them. And when we were in the for-profit center, all the books were high up on the top of the shelves where the kids couldn't even touch them or see them, and that was so heartbreaking to compare to what we have here. And it makes me always appreciate what we have when I go to for-profit centers and I can see the difference.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I know this church and this center have been doing good for the community for 30 years. Have you got a story to tell us about the good that you do?
Just last month we did a food drive for the Bread for All food pantry. It's what the church sponsors, and so we make it a contest because we find our parents are very competitive. And we've raised almost 900 food items for the Bread for All food pantry. I mean, it's a huge impact. And it helps all these people. Right now we're gathering toys for the Agua Viva mission down on the border near Laredo. And so the church adopts people. We just provide a whole bunch of extra toys because when they get down there and they start passing them out, all these other kids from the community come out, and then we have toys to give them as well. And it's just, so many blessings. We're teaching the children when we do fundraisers and when we do outreach specifically, we put it in language that the kids can understand, and we make it relevant to them. And so when we do the food collection, we talk to them about their children who don't have as much food as you have. Could you bring your favorite food to school and share with them, and we will get it to them, and they understand that. They understand hunger and children. And when we talk about their children who are very poor, who don't have toys like you have toys, and what this would mean to them to receive a toy from you, and then they willingly give, and it's just so lovely to see.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is, yes. And you've got support of other similar schools. You have a half-day directors group. Tell us about that.
It's approximately 40 typically church-based programs in the Austin area. We meet monthly as directors, and we provide support for each other. We also provide information so we can compare my tuition to everybody else's and what I pay my staff, so we can all stay very competitive in the market, and we can see how we compare. And then it's just a great opportunity for us to network and support one another through things. It's an amazing resource. It's hugely invaluable. And we all were talking the other day about how the dynamic with the schools taking on pre-K are impacting our centers as well, and how we're addressing that. So it kind of gives you marketing help as well. It's a great resource. And again, we're mostly faith-based, and so it's very nice to be in that community of people who are in the same boat as you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. So any other thoughts?
If somebody was considering doing this, I think showing the research that the quality is here versus in the for-profit centers, I think showing, you talked earlier about the drain to the church. If somebody's looking at it and the board's looking at, the council's looking at it, and they're thinking, oh, this is going to cost the church, flipping that around and showing the positive sides and what we bring back. We do the improvements on the playground, and we make that a vibrant place that the community comes all during the week and plays. If I come up here anytime during the evenings or on weekends, there's always people from the community on our playground, and we encourage them to come and play. So, we maintain those and we improve those areas, and we bring in new membership, and We bring in some income for the church. And a lot of churches right now are faltering. Some enrollments are down and giving is down. It's pretty typical in the church environment. So if you have a vibrant school, you're bringing back some of that to the church. And I think it's just so worth considering doing.
Great. Well, so do I. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.